And it's Wednesday night. What that means that Wednesday night, 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that it's time for Quick Fix Golf, and all our pals and all their buddies and all their hook a friend on golf you're going to find out about tonight. And we have a special guest from a great Theory 8 Golf. You're going to learn a lot tonight from BJ Zaffron. Is that how you say it? You say Zaffron?
Saffron.
Saffron. BJ Saffron. And we'll tell you about BJ in a second. First, this whole show tonight is brought to you by Quick Fix Golf and Hook a Friend on Golf. As you can see, we got a little buddy here. He's got his thumbs up because he's introducing a friend to golf, and he brought that friend on board. We'll tell you more about that in a few minutes. And here's Myrtle Beach. We got Darren DeMaile. Hello, Darren.
Hello, Bobby. Hello, Bobby.
That's me in the middle, and Steve is busy tonight, but Steve is at our Patterson Golf Park location in Richmond, Virginia. Darren, let it rip.
Here's what we need you to do. We need you to get your video camera out, your cell phone, whatever you got, and we're going to give you a free analysis. Just send us a video of your golf swing. We're going to send you some drills and identify the major fault that's going on in your swing, and it's not going to cost you a penny. Nothing out of your pocket. We don't need your credit card. You owe it to yourself. Why not? Send it to us at quickservice@quickfixgolf.com, and we'd love to help you out because we want you to play better golf now.
Well, the analysis might be free, but if you can send me that blonde that's in the bunker, I'll pay you anything you want.
Oh yeah, you know that joke doesn't get it's old. It's old.
Yeah, but it works. Hook a friend on golf. Help your buddy get introduced to golf and to Quick Fix Golf, and you make money. We'll tell you more about that later on. But tonight's our big guest right here. BJ is a former touring professional, spent much of his life training, competing, trained under Jack Lumpkin. Junior golfing years later with David Ledbetter. Oh, you can still swing?
Absolutely.
And through extensive training on his own game, he's come up with this Theory 8 Golf. BJ, welcome to the gang, buddy. Glad to have you here today.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having us. We really appreciate it.
We really appreciate it, BJ.
Well, how did you come up with this theory? Zone theory, area of work. I've got these counted out here. I think I'm going to back this up 1 second so they don't. Go ahead and tell us all about it.
Yeah, so we spent some time really kind of digging into the golf swing and how it looks from a novice golfer, even a top touring professional. What that looks like and how can you break the swing down? Because as you guys know, there's so many things in a golf swing. And for a touring professional that's out on the range doing it every day, it doesn't seem as overwhelming. But to, the guys that are getting to play on the weekends and work during the week, there's a lot to think about. And so we really wanted to try to make a system that you could either be someone who's new to the game and start in one area and work your way through with the premise of, everything is a reaction to an action. And so you can work your way through the zones and build yourself a pretty solid golf swing, or you could be, a 10 handicap and have a troubled area and really hone in on that area or that zone. And so we just felt that was a great way to kind of have a framework to really kind of get the message across to people of all different skill levels.
So sometimes,
BJ, is there a you have them ranked as 1 through 8? Is it a priority of importance, or is it just 1 through 8, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it's not a priority of importance. It's literally from start to finish. So if you look at zone 1, that's foundations, that's the setup, grip, alignment, posture. And then the last one we call the dance, which is, an overall theory or concept and zone about tempo and that kind of thing. So that impacts all the zones.
So foundations is basically the setup, the grip, alignment, posture.
Yep, correct. And it's exactly what we named it, the foundations. I mean, we believe that that is such an integral part of a good, solid golf swing is making sure that the setup, the grip, the alignment, the posture, those things are really good, balance points, all that stuff. And those are the things that you can do in a golf swing that you got time to do, right? So they're not at any speed. And so you can make sure that those are really solid, that those are correct, and those really impact, what happens from there.
Yeah, BJ, I think that's a really good point that you said that, the easiest place to work on something in his golf swing is when the club isn't moving. And most
Right.
people want to work on it in the downswing. So that's
right.
a really good point that you're saying there about let's work on the place where it's moving the slowest, and that's that foundation. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Number
that's
two.
true. I mean, so to parlay on that, you know, with a lot of students, we say, look, if we don't have the foundations correct, we know that in one of the zones going forward, there's most likely going to be an issue. So let's really hone in and make sure that that foundation is really solid, because we believe if you take the method of the reaction to an action, if our actions in the foundations are good, if our setup is solid, then we've got a greater chance of all the other zones being pretty solid as well.
So we move on to beginnings.
Yeah, so the beginnings, you know, we have first 2 feet. We talk about the first 3 feet, you know, somewhere in there. We believe that for us, when the swing starts, when the motion starts to happen, those first 2 or 3 feet are the most integral part of the golf swing. If you are in the right positions there, most of the time, the rest of it really kind of takes care of itself to some degree. And so we really hone in on the foundations, and then we really spend a lot of time with students on the beginnings. In fact, one of our first videos is with a gentleman named Billy Carter, and we're talking about his hands. Billy was a great player at University of North Carolina, basketball player, and he gets really active with his hands from the start. And what we see in his swing is that causes all the other problems in the rest of the swing. And so if we can really get his hands where they're a little more quiet and a little more in position to where they need to be, what we see in his swing is the rest of it kind of takes care of itself.
With a name like Billy Carter, he's going to need to have some kind of movement going on.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it's probably my generation that remembers who Billy Carter is.
Oh, yeah. And we talk about that. In fact, my daughter plays AAU basketball, and she talks to Billy on the phone several times. And he's a phenomenal basketball player even still. But it's, you know, in his golf swing, in his hands, it's to his detriment.
Yep.
Darren?
Okay, so the next part, you know, kind of going upstairs, bringing it up, rising up.
Yep. That's exactly what it's called. It is what we call it, the rising up. And how do we get, you know, past those first 3 feet and take those good positions all the way to the top and into the transition, right? So if we set good positions in the first 2 zones, especially in the beginnings on the first 2 or 3 feet, how do we take it from there to the top so we can make good transitions? And you know, as easy as that may sound, sometimes for some folks it's very complicated. And one thing that we really are big believers in, we have principles in each of these zones, but at the same time, it's not a one-size-fits-all program. And, you know, we understand that everybody's physiology is different, everybody's capabilities are different. And so though there are principles inside the zone that make the theory itself, it's also, you know, it's got to be catered to the individual.
I was just about to say, you know, you start thinking about all these different points in the swing. And as you can see at the logo up top, Darren has, I have all the facts. And I say, shut up and hit it. We hit.
Yeah.
When you got to start thinking about, you know, you got to work on these things one at a time on the range, don't you think? And get it down first before you move on to the next one.
That's right. And that's the whole premise of the zone theory, right? Is let's really hone in, especially if you're a new player, let's hone in on zone 1. Let's get it good before we spend too much time thinking about the other stuff. Sure, on the range, we'll make some swings, but let's focus on this zone and get it solid. And then we'll go to the next one. Because if you sit there and try to think about different things in each zone, I mean, all of us have been to a lesson and they go, okay, well, you know, your hands, lead better. You got to set your hands real fast. Back when I used to go there, you got to set your hands real fast. And then at the top, you know, you got to do this and that. And then you come down and you're thinking about 3 things in a matter of, you know, a second and a half. And it's hard to do. And so that's the whole point of the zone concept, especially if you get somebody who's only able to practice once a week, once every other 2 weeks, trying to remember those things in which part of the swing, if you're working on 3 different things in 3 areas of the swing, can be quite challenging.
Now, do you consider that after you get past that first 2 feet takeaway, is it somewhat of a lift? Because you're saying to the top transition, do you feel like you're lifting your arms?
A little bit. We're more in the camp of the golf swing is more of a twisting motion instead of a turn. You know, when we talk to people, especially amateur golfers, about a turn, what we typically see is they'll stand straight up to turn because that's what they're used to doing, not making a golf swing. And so we really try to focus on the twist concept, like a corkscrew. And so, yes, it does go up to some degree, but we want to see the hands stay, center of the chest, basically. And that's one of the things Jack Lumpkin was huge on. If you get your hands what we call deep, or they don't get center of the chest and they're behind, you've got a whole lot of problems coming. And so if we can keep all that kind of connected, if you will, then that's going to really help you from there. So there is a little bit of a lift, but as you twist, the shoulders stay. A lot of times we see the shoulder angle not stay the same. And so that's a big part of it too. So you got people turning that are leveling their shoulders, and then they're trying to lift their arms too much to get that hand width. And that doesn't work either. So there is some lift, yes, but we think if you twist the body, the arms naturally lift as they should.
Well, you said the magic word there. You said keep the club in front of your chest.
Right.
I'm telling that to people all the time. Keep it in front of your chest. In fact, I tell them, when you get to the top of the backswing, take your hands and put them right next to your chest, and then pull them out again. Put them up next to your chest, pull them out again. Make sure that club's in front of you. Don't let it get behind you.
That's right. I mean, if it gets deeper than that right shoulder at the top of the swing, you're in a real bad position. It's hard to recover from there. And that happens because people know conceptually, right, that there is, centrifugal force. And so they know that the club is taking the biggest circle. The hands are taking a little bit smaller circle. The chest is taking a smaller one. And then your core is taking an even smaller one. And so they really rush the arms and the upper body to try to make that club move as fast as it can, instead of just letting everything piece together as it should and giving themselves and their body rotation and stuff time to let the club work to where it needs to be. So that's why you see people get deep a lot.
Darren?
Yeah, I mean, right there, you just said Bobby's, he's famous for saying the marching band theory, and you just, you hit it nail right on the head about that marching band theory there.
Angular acceleration.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep.
I know Bobby Watkins used to give me crap about that. He says, well, Lopez, I need some of that angular acceleration.
Yeah.
Once you've experienced more of it. No doubt.
Now, what about number 4?
Yeah, the runway. What's going on with the runway?
Yeah, so the runway is, what you think of like an airplane runway. That's where you're trying to get the speed. That's where you're trying to pick up the speed. You're trying to create those angles and body position with weight transfer and width to create that speed and that, that centrifugal force or that whip effect. And so if zones 1, 2, 3 are good, your runway can start to have that and pick up speed coming into the ball.
Now we had Husha Makamoko. What was his name, Darren?
Oh, don't say that about Terry. He's the best.
No, he's great. No, he was great.
Terry Hashimoto with the body track. I'm sure you
Oh, yeah.
Hashimoto-san. Oh, selectable. Very good choice.
Yeah.
But anyway,
yeah.
He was on it. He has that mat and everything, and he was saying that most of the pressure is on the right foot. This weight transfer is not there.
Yeah, I mean that's not what we believe. We believe that it looks like there's more pressure on the right foot, because you're driving off of the right foot. And so on a pressure mat, obviously that's going to look more red if that's the color, or blue, depending on which mat you're using. And so it's going to look like there's more pressure there. And it essentially is, you're just driving into the ground to push the weight towards the other side. And so there's not a lot of weight there, but there is a lot of pressure in the sense. If that makes sense. Yeah. I know back when I played, I mean, I tell people this all the time. Back when I played and when I was playing the best, I have a lot of friends ask me, what was the one thing you felt in your swing? And I said, when I was playing my best, what I felt in my swing was my feet. And so I could feel the movement in my feet, and everything else followed. And that's very much, a concept of like fly fishing. You're holding that butt of that rod, and you're moving that, and that's where you're feeling all the pressure and the tension and everything in that rod. But everything else is really whipping hard compared to that. And that's the same with the feet and the core.
Trevino was a foot player. You watch his feet.
Very much.
I could say something right now, but I'm not.
Yeah, no, but please don't.
Now I want to hear it.
Yeah, Bobby can get away with all these bad jokes because he's Cuban. They don't apply to him, so don't worry.
Okay. Now about smashing.
I mean, smashing is what it is, right? We all at one point have looked at that smash factor reading. I know for me, working with Jack Lumpkin as a young man and a young aspiring golfer, I worked with Jack almost a year. And we'd go see him, and for a year we worked on the impact position. And I was probably at the time 16, 17, somewhere in there. And I used to get so frustrated on the second half of that year because I'd inevitably go there and I'm like, Jack, I just won a junior event. I'm doing well. We got to get, as a young kid is doing well, you're into all the things of the golf swing. So I'd get there and Jack said, okay, hit some balls. And he'd go, okay, go to the impact position. And I literally, at one point, I was like, not again. Like we drilled the impact position the last 2 times. And he's like, that's what we're going to do this time. And he would make me get in a perfect impact position and then just push the ball as hard as I could all the way to the finish. And I bet we did that for a year. And his thought was, hey, if you can feel a great impact position, no matter what happens, what error you have in your swing, you will start to train the muscle memory to get back to that good impact position.
Amen.
And so you will auto correct.
Amen.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. We had Bobby Clampett on maybe 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and he went into great depth about that impact position. There's not a lot of teachers that are out there teaching impact. Some people don't, some people do, but it's definitely the moment of truth for sure. And
yeah, I mean, if you think about a lot of the people that all of us teach, they're not tour pros, right? And so they're not on the range all day, every day, feeling those sensations throughout the whole swing. So what's the one that we know that they definitely need to feel correctly? And that's impact position. If we can assure that they can at least feel a proper impact position, then we feel pretty confident that the body from a physiology standpoint will try to eventually get itself back there. And we all know that every swing is a little different, except the foot and a half coming into the ball and the foot and a half after. Everything after that, most everybody's a little bit different. And so if we can make that smashing, that impact position as solid as we can make it, and if we can repeat it over and over again, we think, while we'll refine some of the other zones, that one there will, if you have a good impact position and you can feel it, we believe you can auto correct if something in another zone is not correct.
Yeah, it's just so tough to feel it there because that's where that club is moving the fastest. So
that's right.
But it's not to say that it's definitely an important position for sure.
Yeah, and that's why Jack had me going there all the time. That's why he literally had me set up over the ball and then go, okay, get in an impact position. And I wouldn't take the club away. I wouldn't bring it down. It literally went from set up to impact.
A lot of people don't know where impact is.
That's very true too.
And usually impact to them is a little bit open.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's why I tell myself, show me impact. And they don't get the shaft lean and what looks like a shut face to them. It's not really shut.
Yeah,
it's the off.
That's right.
So it's but we do the best we can.
For us at Theory 8, and John and I, McGinnis and I have talked a lot about this. Back when John played, John was all a field player. And I came up in the generation where, athletes started to get into golf. I played every sport growing up. And so I was heavy into training and those kind of things. And so the commonalities when John and I talk about golf and our past and what we felt, what we trained in doing, those kind of things, the two things for us that we believe are the most important are those first 2 or 3 feet, obviously the foundations, and then those first 2 feet takeaway and impact every single time.
Yep.
And so if you can make the foundations good, obviously that's for everything. But if you can make the first 2 feet really solid going back and you have a really good impact position, more times than not, you're going to hit a pretty solid shot.
All right. What about number 6, intentions, 2 feet after impact? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that's kind of a neat one as well. That kind of parlays into the impact position and the first 2 or 3 feet away from the ball. A lot of times we'll even see players that get into a pretty decent impact position, and then shortly after the ball, they are way out of position. And so, intentions are, we talk a lot to people about, okay, what are your intentions? When you have that ball, because we all know when you make impact, that ball actually sits on the face for a little while. So you're carrying the ball for just a hair of a second. What are your intentions with it? Because what happens the next foot or two really kind of will help dictate that. And so we focus a lot on that as well, going, okay, what is that path and what are your hands and your body doing that foot or two after impact? And for some of that, the ball's still on the club.
Right. But, just on a defense here, the scientist, and I use this example all the time, the scientist would tell us that it doesn't matter after impact. Nothing after impact matters because the ball's gone. That's what the scientists would say. What do you think about that, BJ?
I would say, from a scientist theory standpoint,
Right.
I guess you could argue that, but we also know, athletics aren't necessarily all science either.
Exactly.
And so the body is moving in a certain direction, and it is moving that direction after the ball. It's the same thing with a pitcher. So if I wind up and I step and I throw, once I've released the ball, if my arm is moving in a funky direction, it's going to reflect on that ball, because there's no way that I can make at that speed my hand or arm move in that funky direction without it starting when I've been holding the ball. And it's the same with a golf swing. If I'm coming in at 100 miles an hour, when I've hit the ball, if I have a funky deal a foot or two after the ball, there's no way that I could do that and it not have been there also at impact.
So impact was wrong.
So impact would have been wrong, right?
Yeah, so I was just going to say that to me, you talk about 2 feet after impact, it had to happen 2 feet before you got the impact, at least.
It does. And we are a huge believer of those 4 feet. Those 4 feet, if you look on tour, I'd say probably 3 feet, really, 1.5 feet before the ball and 1.5 feet after. Those 3 feet, those guys are most all identical.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time around Martin Hall, growing up, BJ, and it was a big proponent of knee high to knee high.
Yes.
Knee high before the ball, knee high after, and after
right.
that, it's all a matter of aesthetics. Right. But after impact, I'm a huge believer that after impact has a huge influence on what goes on before the hit. So okay, let's go ahead. Number 7.
Okay, and then for the fans, obviously the finish position. What we see a lot, and this is also something that I really worked with Jack a lot on, is a very unbalanced finish position. And we believe if there's an unbalanced finish position, then something has happened incorrectly in the swing. And so if we can work, it's the same as the concept of the impact position. If we can work to have a great finishing position, our body leading up to that, because of the speed at which we're swinging, is naturally going to do the things that we want it to do better.
Yeah, I had a very successful junior golf program when I was working in the Hamptons, and at that age, we always taught the kids pro finish,
Yep.
pro finish,
Yep.
right? And it kept them out of getting into bad habits.
Yep, absolutely.
But I couldn't agree with you more there with that finish position. When you first learn in the game, it's a place to go, as Bobby would say. It's a place to go, not a place that you end up.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, the impact position probably and the finish position are 2 very unnatural positions for people that have never played the game. It's a very odd feeling. They understand a little bit of the backswing, maybe not quite at the top, but the thought of taking it back to have some speed to then take it forward, that makes sense to a lot of people. But that impact position is an odd position if you're in the right position, if you've never felt it before, and the same with the finish position.
And then number 8, talk to us a little bit about tempo.
Yeah, so number 8 is probably one of my favorites. It's one of the things that I worked on so much as a kid, tempo and balance. We are a huge believer, which we don't see taught a lot anymore, about tempo and balance. Tempo and balance can cure a lot of things. If you have something going wrong in your swing and you're out and you've got a tournament going on and you have good, solid tempo and balance, you will be able to manage that round of golf. And so we are, we're a huge believer in that. One of the things that we work on some of our students with is really getting some feel of fluidity from the very start. A lot of people are so rigid at impact, and that really hinders their ability to have good tempo and balance, right? So if I'm jerky, that's going to affect my balance. No dancers are jerky, no smooth pitchers or quarterbacks or even, batters in baseball. None of them are super jerky. There's a rhythm and a balance to their swing. They may be at different speeds, but there's always a rhythmic balance to their swing, and we're big on that. Yeah,
we had John Novosel on not too long ago, talking about tempo and his book Tour Tempo, which was really fascinating in some of the things that him and his father had come up with over the years. But tempo, to me, has a lot to do with personality, character. And I called it the subway lifestyle. Living in the Hamptons for 10 years, I saw how people would kind of relate that subway lifestyle to how they'd approach the game of golf. And you're absolutely right. It's got to be that. It's got to be the right dance in there. You can't be getting the Lopez Cuban Pete. How's that song? I am Cuban Pete.
I got the beat, the one with the Roomba beat.
Boom, chicka, chicka, boom, chicka, chicka,
Boom.
boom.
You got that right.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Well,
how
you
much-
can as long as it's rhythmic.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, a lot of people go wrong with tempo right from the start. Everybody is so locked up and tight trying to make that motion just right off the ball or that setup just right that they are so, I mean, they're death gripping the club. They're doing something too aggressive and they lose the tempo right from the start. So we are very, very big on you got to have tempo and it needs to be a focus right from the beginning.
Yeah, Henry Griffiths was big on fitting under your number 7 and number 8. They did their whole fitting philosophy was built around going to a balanced finish.
Yep.
You know, you want to open up the floodgates and have some
Yeah,
questions?
let's see. We got anyone from the peanut gallery?
Yeah, it's the peanut gallery. Mike Durkin wrote one in here. One of your videos is about dead hands adding life. Yeah, what's the deal on that? Let me see here.
Yeah, so that's Billy Carter. And we're talking about his hands. So Billy's hands kind of, and they didn't do it as much when we were doing that video because I've been working with Billy on that. But if I went back probably a year on videos of Billy, his hands right from the start, they get away from his body and high, and the club already gets deep and inside. And so he's used to having phenomenal hands and feeling that basketball, which made him a phenomenal dribbler and shooter. But for him, it takes over right away from his golf swing, and that impacts everything going forward for him. He takes his hands high and off the ball, and the club gets deep. And then as he goes into the top of the turn, it gets way across the line. It kind of counters that motion, right? The reaction to the action. And so now he's way out of place. And so then the hands have to be very active coming back in. And so, you know, we're really getting Billy into that concept of, hey, let's take the hands out of it for the first 2 feet. Your hands can be in your swing. We're not saying, you know, we're not a big believer of just having dead hands, but you got to have the hands come in place at the right time. A lot of people say, oh, your hands just need to be dead all the way through. And those of us that have played at a high level know that's not true. It's just you got to know where to have the tension in the hands at what points and how to do so. And it's definitely not the first couple feet.
Well, Darren, tell them about that. Is that group that's measuring grip pressure?
Oh, yeah, I think, and Vijana, I knew you would definitely agree with me on this, is, you know, this whole quest for distance and speed, grip pressure is definitely, it's not what it used to be. Grip pressure is changing. And, you know, to swinging at Bryson's speed or whoever's speed, you got to have different grip pressures in there. So, you know, I think that, I don't know if we can correlate that to dead hands, but, you know, I think everybody's going to have their own different grip pressure for different swings and different shots that they have to hit. But, you know, I don't think there's that kind of constant grip pressure of like, let's keep it really, really soft and gentle anymore.
No, I think for us, you know, we talk about the last 3 fingers. If you're a right-handed player, the last 3 fingers on the left hand and how they really have more pressure than the rest of the hand does. And so that's different for everybody, right? One of the things that's not talked about a lot, and this is one of the things, we're going really deep here on this, but one of the things that I talk to about my students is hand strength. And so, again, I played a lot of sports, and the one thing that I know, though you don't want overactive hands and some of the things that you do, you got to have great hand strength as well. And so we ask a lot of right-handed people who work all day and right-handed. They pick up their coffee right-handed. They do everything right-handed. They come out to then have a lesson with us, and they can't quite do the left-handed motion that we want them to do. And if you take just, you know, an average guy or gal and you ask them to do a dumbbell of whatever weight, typically they can lift the same amount in both arms because the bicep strength is fine, but their left hand and their left forearm are way much more weak than the right because they're using those fine motor skills all day. And so we're really talking about left-hand strength. And so if you have not as good a left-hand strength, then your grip pressure probably needs to be a little stronger because you're not going to have as good a control with it. And so it is different for everybody. But what we want to see is whatever grip pressure works for you to have those first 2 feet good, then that's what's right for you.
Right. So how can everyone find out about you, BJ? Where can we see you? What do we want to look for? What can we buy?
Yeah. So we've got our website, www.theory8golf.com, and we've started our YouTube channel. Right now, we're just trying to get some content out to folks. And so we're doing that through YouTube, and just trying to get people comfortable, other than those that we already teach, with, what we're doing and the Theory 8 concept, and just really trying to drive some interest around what we're doing. We love input from people. We want to hear what golfers are doing and what they're saying, and so they can contact us or whatever. We love doing shows like this and talking with other instructors who, everybody teaches a little different. Everybody swings a little different. And we want to evolve as a group and evolve the golf swing as time goes on. And so we want to learn what other people are feeling and thinking. And so, the YouTube channel is a great way to start. Eventually, we're going to have a subscription model on the website, but we really wanted to give some people some content just to get to know us more. But eventually, there'll be some membership opportunities on our website that'll have more in-depth videos. One thing that we're doing too, I think our next video or the one after, we're posting every Friday night right now on YouTube. It's either the next video or the one after. We're doing also videos on skilled practicing. I coach a golf team. One thing that I know with golfers across every level is the loss of true skilled practicing. And what we see with a lot of junior golfers and amateurs is they'll go out to the range. They don't mind spending the time. They just don't really know what to do. And so we're going to do a lot of videos on what does skilled practicing look like? How do you better yourself in an area and do it methodically in the right way so that area can become better? What we see with junior golfers, and I'm sure you guys do the same. My boys on my team, they want to go straight to the range and hit driver. And so, that's all well and good, but what about the rest of the game? And so we're going to do a lot of videos on skilled practicing and that kind of thing. And so our YouTube channel or the website is a great place to go and pick up that content.
Well, we'd love to have you down in Myrtle Beach and with John, and we'd love to do maybe a golf school down here at Tupelo Bay, and get some groups together, maybe play some golf. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We certainly appreciate you coming on tonight, BJ.
We'll get your site up here, theory8golf.com, in case you guys want to go there and watch some other videos.
Yeah, we love it. I mean, we would love to talk to you guys, come down, play some golf, get your input. We want feedback. And so we're up for doing any of that stuff. We want to get this message out to as many people as we can, and helping as many people as we can, just like you guys.
There you go. See, I give you some feedback right now. Take rid of all 8, just put 1. Hit the damn thing and come on.
We'll put a side note with your picture and go, if the theory don't work for you, here's another one.
Here you go. I just lowered it from 8 to 1. Look how much easier it's going to be. Where you come on, let's go. We want to get done. The sun's going down.
I like it. Fast play is my play.
I say it all the time. The sun's going down. Come on, let's go. Hit it.
That's right. I tell my friends all the time, I don't care what you shoot, just do it fast.
You can actually think yourself into oblivion.
Absolutely.
I think your 8 theories are very good. And if you deal with them one at a time and keep doing them until like I used to say, the cement dries, keep doing it. And, I think people think they have it in 3 days and they're ready to move on to the next thing. So, no, you need to do that one thing and you do it and do it and do it and do it and do it until you can't take it anymore.
And that, there's some psychology there behind the 8 zones, right? If we can say, okay, we're going to work on zone 2 because we see something that's off there, that player can just kind of mentally think, okay, I'm in zone 2 right now, and that's where I'm working. And it almost will kind of condition them not to go to the other areas. If you have a zone that we're focused on, we make that a zone. We give them a card. We send them a card after and say, okay, this is what we worked on. It's in zone 2. And so it just kind of psychologically makes them focus on that area instead of, doing it a couple times on the range. And then the next time when we see them, they're like, oh, I was working on this over here and I saw this on the thing. And so it helps kind of hone in that for them as well.
Yeah, most of our students just say Lopez is in the twilight zone.
That's all right, as long as he shoots 68.
We enjoyed you got that. We enjoyed having you very, very much. You're very knowledgeable. You're very, very good, very professional. Just terrific. Really, and wish you all the best.
Thanks so much, BJ.
Yeah, thank you guys very much. We appreciate you guys having us on, and it means the world to us to help get this message out. Thank you guys so much.
Pleasure having you.